Hey, welcome back to the General College Podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Jamie Collier, and with me is my other co-host, Samantha Hines, and we also have two guests with us today. So whoever wants to start first can introduce themselves.
Hello, my name is Brandon McKeegy. I am a junior and just really happy to be here.
Hello, I'm Sacha. I'm a sophomore, and I'm also really excited to be on the podcast.
Nice.
Yeah, and if you don't know me, I'm Samantha, and I'm also a sophomore, and I'm excited to be back on the podcast.
Yes. So now my intro question for you guys, which kind of brings us on topic. So what is your favorite movie or one of your favorite movies? So let's start off with Samantha.
Oh, thanks. Okay. Actually, I do have this one down.
Oh, okay.
My favorite movie, I think, is The Perks of Being a Wallflower. It's also my favorite book, which I'm usually not a book to movie kind of person, but I think this adaptation was really good. And it's a nice coming of age story, but it also has a lot in it that's just really interesting and engaging and unique. And I'm a big fan of that movie, so I recommend it if you have not seen it before.
Nice. Okay. I actually have not. That's been one of the movies that's been on my list for forever, but I've never
we gotta have a movie night.
Yes, let's do it. All right, Sam, you call on who you want to go next.
Okay.
You got a 50-50.
I'm gonna do a 50-50. There's three of you.
All right, there is me.
I'll do Sacha if it's not too soon.
Yeah, I was thinking about this because I kind of put my favorites into different categories, but of all of those, I'd say my number one favorite movie that I could watch over and over and not get tired of is Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Ooh.
The action in it, the 8-bit, the fact that it's also based off the comic and they kind of stick to it, and just the character casting is so spot on. I will never get tired of quoting that movie, and just watching it and just showing it to people is top tier number one favorite of mine.
Ooh, good pick.
Excellent soundtrack too.
Oh yeah, the fact that Brie Larson's in it. I love Brie Larson. She's a great actress. For her to be in it, and for her to sing Black Sheep, that was probably one of my it's a pivotal moment. It's a small pivotal moment, but it was also a great moment for that song to play too. Yeah.
Nice. All right, you call who you want to go next.
All right, Brandon.
Yeah. I think I got this one pretty down pat. Just because I've fallen in love with it recently, but I've got to go with Soul, the latest release from Disney Pixar. It's just really, I think at its core, just the story and the message is just so creative and so artistic. I just really resonated with the movie as an artist and just as a creative myself. I think it just really, I think it's a movie for all ages, for anyone to see. And I think it's so powerful, the message just about find what makes you yourself, and find what makes you artistic and creative. And I think that's what I just love the way the animation and the graphics were just really top tier. I really hate that it couldn't be seen in theaters because of the pandemic and whatnot, but that's just means I can binge it on Disney Plus whenever I want to. So
true.
Win-win.
Awesome. And for me, I don't know. I feel like this movie is well received, but I never hear people talk about it. This is my favorite Disney movie, or at least one of my favorites, is Hercules. I feel like not enough people praise the heck out of that movie. I love it so much. I think every song in there is a banger, and Meg was the first true Disney princess, in my opinion. So there you have it.
That surprises me, actually.
It does? Why?
I haven't seen it in a while, but I don't not like it. I just wasn't expecting that. Yeah.
It is. I love it. And I think also I'm kind of biased because I really like Greek mythology, but the first time I watched it, I wasn't super into Greek mythology then. So I think that the love for Greek mythology just made me like it even more. So yeah.
Mm.
All right. So with that being said, establishing our love for different movies and stuff, we wanted to talk about college movies versus real life. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I am in no shape or form an expert on this topic, so I'm gonna be relying on you guys for this. So who wants to kick us off with a college movie?
Realized that like while I was thinking about this, that like most of like my college experience, like thinking about like how college is portrayed on screen, like it was mostly like through TV rather than movies when I was thinking about it. And if it's okay if we talk about both, I have some stuff.
College movies or college or TV shows that deal with college. That works too. Oh,
Cool.
wow. I just thought of one. Like, as soon as I said that, actually, me and my mom recently watched Pitch Perfect, which is technically the first one is a college movie. And I like a different realm from what I'm used to since I'm not in any a cappella group, so I can't speak on the realness of it, but I would say that one's not too crazy. That one's pretty accurate for like all the college related parts, I think.
That's a pretty good one. I was gonna say, because I was thinking about it, I feel like a lot of shows I see are very like high school oriented, though I feel like a lot of scenarios could definitely be more applicable to like college, for example, Euphoria. Like though the small town vibe is definitely spot on. I feel like that's more college, but one movie that definitely was probably like besides Pitch Perfect that stood out to me was Legally Blonde, because technically I think she's just about to graduate undergrad and then she goes to Harvard. And it's just like an interesting storyline that she has, and like also the way that the message that they have at the end, I really liked it from the first movie. So I thought that was one I wanted to bring up.
Yeah, Legally Blonde is great. I agree.
I'm trying to think. I think I saw that when I was like younger, but I don't entirely remember everything. Was that a Disney Channel movie?
No, I don't remember.
I feel like I might have watched it on Disney Channel. I don't know. I don't know why.
I know what you're thinking of because Disney Channel made a version of it called Legally Blondes. And it had those blonde twins that were in a lot of movies. Okay, that was the first one I saw too, Jamie. And and I got confused for a while because I didn't know there was a different one, until like high school.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it was like their own adaptation. Yeah, because they were the same twins who are also, I feel like I knew them best through like The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, because they definitely both had crushes on them. Yeah.
That's so weird. I don't like remember a lot of Disney movies that are like straight ripping something else. That's interesting.
I think technically it was supposed to be like someone related to Elle Woods. These were like his daughters or something. I was just talking about it with someone recently, but it's like, I don't know. It's confusing, because it is interesting.
Brandon, you come up with yours yet?
Yeah, I'm not sure if y'all have like heard about this one. It's kind of a low key movie, but it's called Life of the Party with Melissa McCarthy in it. It's about like this middle-aged woman who like kind of has like a midlife crisis and decides to like go back to college with her daughter, and just really, just like wilds out at college as like a middle-aged like woman. And I say this movie because like I feel like in so many ways like she has this kind of like realization, like as she has this realization like as she's in college, just kind of like that she like she didn't like really like get as much out of college like as she wanted to, like when back when she was like younger. And that's what like really kind of like that's what really pushed her to like go back to college. And I feel like a lot of people kind of like even like myself like really deal with that idea of like, am I really like getting like the full value out of college, I don't have this like midlife crisis when I'm like older and be like, like did I like really enjoy college like the most that I could have.
I'm having the crisis right now. I'm not getting the most out of this experience 100%. But I think I have seen bits and pieces of that movie in passing, so I do know what you're talking about. Because I think my mom, when she was watching it, she kept saying like, "Oh, what if I went to college with you? I moved to Chapel Hill. We could like hang out together." I'm like, oh no, no,
No.
no. Like, Mom, I love you, but you know, we don't. No, we just no, it wouldn't work. That's an interesting one. I feel like I wonder because there have been some classes I've been in where there have been like students who have been like older. So I wonder if they kind of have that same experience or if they're purely just there because their job is like, we're giving you this time to get a degree, you better get a degree. And they're like, okay. But that's interesting. That was a good one.
Yeah, I have a couple TV shows that like I guess aren't about college, but like the part where the characters go to college just holds like a big space in my mind. One would be like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I don't know if any of you guys have seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Yeah, that whole college scene, I guess that one's different because she kind of temporarily goes to college. But I definitely think that like they kind of leaned into the overwhelming part of it for her at first, you know, which is fair. I think college is kind of overwhelming for a lot of people.
Yeah. Especially if like because I know for my brother, he didn't want to go to a big school just because like having all those people around would make him kind of nervous. So I could definitely see it being overwhelming for people who may not have the choice and they're just going to wherever they can go.
Yeah, it reminds me. Oh, sorry, I didn't interrupt.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say that reminds me of like, because I feel like I kind of feel the same way where a lot of shows that I've watched, they like usually show that transition of going from high school to college, and like the college part usually stands with me too. I feel like the one show where like, though I can't fully connect to it, it's kind of related is like Community, because you know it's about a whole mixed grab bag of like people, like one person who's like a fake law student, someone who's been at the school forever, like all these different people coming together for like a Spanish group basically in a community college. I feel like that's like the best case of like showing what college could be like, but in a more like exaggerated sense, because sometimes it feels like it does show how hectic college can be, but it's just of course exaggerated for the comedy effect.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about Community, but yeah, I definitely get what you're saying.
Ooh, tell us. We want to know.
I have mixed feelings about it in the sense that I don't totally know how I feel about it. In one sense, I really like it. I think some of the concepts they have in some of the episodes are really interesting. And I do really enjoy the show overall. But I think the things that kind of bother me are like how like, in my opinion, doesn't necessarily mean anything, but like how cookie cutter some of the like ideas are that the show is based around, just like the concept of like having like your friend gang, you know, which I guess is not a problem. I just, you know, I tend to like question that a little bit. And yeah, and I think a lot of my issues were like with later on in the show where I felt like there was kind of a lot of like repetition with their ideas. And like what I liked about the show was how like interesting, like some of like the paintball scenes, like episodes for like just these like ones that like it's like what on earth is happening. But then like you know, sometimes they would like do it again on another episode, and yeah, they'd make it different, but it was just kind of, I don't know. I didn't love those parts all the time, but I don't know. Just
I didn't love like the sexual, a lot of like the sexual tension like in between characters. It's like constant like will they or won't they, like every single season kind of thing. And
I
forgot
have
about
to
that.
confess,
Yeah.
I have not seen a whole lot, if not any Community. I feel like I've seen clips here and there. For some reason, like there was a whole section of TV where I was just like, nah, and just did not watch. So that would be a part of it. But that does sound kind of it does sound kind of like other shows where they have like the sort of sexual tension part. Like I'm watching a show that Amazon just put out called Invincible. And the guy, for some reason, he's in high school and he's like trying to entertain two different girls at the same time. Like, why? Like, what is the this is not helping anybody's story. Like, he's just doing it just because they're there. I don't know what the reason is, but I get tired of that too, Brandon.
Yeah. The whole like, I'm trying to remember the characters' names, but like, I know like the initial, the blonde woman.
Britta.
Sorry, say that again.
Is it Britta and Jeff you're talking about?
Britta and Jeff.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's been a while since I've seen it, but see that whole storyline felt like a little forced to me from the beginning.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But then I really liked Annie's character, but I kind of thought the whole thing they did with her and Jeff was kind of, I don't know, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But then, because the thing is too, they pushed it so much, but it was clear it was just for like the laughs or something, you know, like it didn't seem like they were actually gonna like do anything like valuable with it in the storyline. And I'm like, why are we doing this? What's happening right now?
They made a lot of things like hyperbolized. I feel like, because part of me, when they did that, I was thinking like maybe this is like their commentary on like how weird it is for people to date within their own friend group so like homogeneously. Because I can agree with that. I think that sometimes that's a weird thing, especially if you know someone's like dating history. And the whole thing with Jeff and Britta was always weird because, you know, especially since when he was dating other people, that tension came back. But then whenever they were just them two, there's just nothing. So it just kind of useless and like empty. And then there's also that
kind of idea.
And then there was that time where Britta was with like Troy, and that just didn't make sense to me at all.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Because for me, I'm just like Troy, like also Troy's character for me, I really liked because like one is Childish Gambino. He's just like cool, but like that whole thing, like with Troy's character and with Britta's character, it just felt like, for me, I was like, why?
Yeah, I think that was when Community kind of lost me, was when Troy left the show. I don't know. It just felt like a lot of stuff was dropping out and like, I don't know. It didn't have the same heart to it, I felt personally.
I agree with that. Yeah, I think at that point too, they just started the episodes like less about college and more just about the absurdities that they decided to like focus on, and it just eventually didn't make sense. And I'm still watching it just to see how it plays out, even though I'm just really lost interest at this point.
That's interesting. I don't know do you guys know if Donald Glover was like maybe a writer, was like helping in that kind of sense on the show?
I don't think so. At least not that often that I'd remember.
Okay. That's interesting that like his influence would make that big of an impact.
I don't know. I just think the character had like a lot of heart, you know, and like, especially Troy and Abed specifically, like their like duo had a lot of heart. And that's what like, those were the characters that I really liked really often. And I feel like once that kind of faded away, I don't know. But I still did really enjoy watching it. But my question is, you know, do you guys think that like that kind of, as you were saying, Sacha, like the weird like friendship homogeny dating kind of thing, do you guys think that's like realistic to real life? Is it too realistic? Is that why we're uncomfortable with it, or is it not realistic? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think from experience, like I think just in my general experience, both high school and college, it's never really been a thing of like my friends dating within our friend group. But I feel like it definitely might be something that happens if you're like in a club and you have like that close group of friends and it's usually pretty consistent. I feel like that might be it. But I feel like even with compared to Community, they only had that one Spanish class, and eventually like they kind of forced themselves, it seemed like, to just be in that Spanish class, which doesn't really seem realistic, at least to me, because I know I've had a group once where we all took econ together, and then not all of us were econ majors or in the same major, so we split off. And so the group chat kind of fell through, but we still talk to each other. We're just not in the same group sense that we were before. So I don't really know how, I guess, realistic it is. I feel like if anything, it might be like hyperbolized, so just so they can have social commentary on other things within relationships, which I also feel like makes it seem less and less realistic, because I feel like there's trying to put too many ideas with certain types of relationships that they try to do certain commentaries on. So I don't know. I'd have like mixed feelings about how realistic it actually is, because also I feel like I don't have that many groups where that's happened before.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
For me, I actually had a friend who asked out one of my friends. Like, we live in my neighborhood, like basically all the kids were friends before like all these new people started showing up. The one of my guy friends asked out my best friend at the time, and she said no. So that made things even more awkward, because we all just hung out together like all the time, and we only live like right across the street from each other, so we'd see each other all the time. And he kept saying like, oh, like she'll come around eventually, like it's just because her mom, because she didn't straight up say like I don't want to date you. She was like, oh, I can't date because my mom doesn't want me to date people. I'm like, you should have straight up said I don't like you like that. You should have just been honest. But I could definitely see how that would be like kind of a weird element to it, if they had started dating, because I would have just been like, all right, well, I'm third wheeling it at this point. It's time for me to move on.
Yeah, and it's got to be weird kind of suddenly having this like intimate knowledge of each other all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like also in Community too, they kind of showed that where like honestly, it seemed like they were more snooping into each other's lives rather than like one of them trying, basically just being like, yeah, this is what's going on, or them having regular conversations. When it comes to like the intimate details of the relationship, it just seemed like the characters were like just more speculating, and then they just like dive into it. For example, like even when they weren't together, like when Britta was talking to one dude, like they literally like took Britta's phone, pretended to be her, or like pretended to be the dude. They did a lot of like manipulative stuff, and I'm like, I really hope it's not realistic. But like it just seems like really bizarre to me. But I feel like that's one aspect that they like changed completely differently.
Yeah, you're reminding me everything about this show. I didn't remember a lot about it.
Oh, that was a good one. Let's see. I'm trying to think of any more. That was a good little combo. Unfortunately, I could not partake because once again, I am living under a rock here with
I have something you can't portray. I mean, participate in, Jamie.
Oh yes.
Glee, when they went to college in Glee.
Gosh, I don't want to participate in that. I don't want to participate in that.
That's fair.
I tried not to remember that. Honestly, that ew, Sam.
Damn. I didn't expect such a strong reaction.
Oh man, did you watch it? Did you see?
I did. But I feel like the more you watch Glee, the more desensitized you become to it. So you're just like, this isn't weird. It's only when you go back and look at it that you're like, oh, okay.
I only like the high school parts of that season where like the original cast went off to college and then they brought in new people for the high school. I only want to see what's happening in the high school, because the stuff that's happening in the college, I am not the biggest Rachel fan, not gonna lie. So that was a part of it. Let's see. I think we were just following Rachel in the college parts of the show. So
Kurt was there too.
What?
Sorry, I don't know how much the other
Kurt was still at, I don't forget the high school's name, but he was one of the assistants, right? He became like one of the later
in the last season.
Oh wow, okay. Sorry. I'm forgetting.
I'm ashamed to say that I know my Glee really well.
I hopped on like, I don't even know, it might have been like season 3 or maybe midway through 3 or beginning of 4 or something. Just because my mom was like, oh, you should like this show, like you like High School Musical. And I was like, oh, I do like High School Musical. So I started watching.
Singing High School.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's the crown duo right there, singing in high school. What could be better? But yeah, the college parts, I'm trying to think. It's kind of weird too, because that was like an art school, so it's way different than like what I can relate to. But
true. I thought that it was interesting. I always find it funny whenever they always like fly back to their school, because like they're going to school like states away from where their high school is, but like they're like flying home every weekend.
Like,
I don't
they
know
got
how you
money.
have the money to do that.
Yeah. Oh man.
I also think it's interesting just how like in TV shows when they transition from high school to college, how like insistent they are in keeping like friends from high school when, you know, and I get why, because those are all the characters we know and love, but like I'm probably friends with like 2 people from high school, maybe. I mean, like
Yeah.
close.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. Same.
Literally.
Like, and I've like just started college practically. So like,
Yeah.
oh, I guess I haven't, but
Yeah.
Oh man. Were they really friends with like any of the students that were well, actually, some of the people didn't graduate with the original cast, I think. But other than that, I don't think they were really friends with like the newer people per se. They were coming back to see them though, but they weren't necessarily friends. That
Yeah.
is weird though.
Yeah,
And
I
it
feel like
happens in
not
real
many
life.
shows. I feel like not many shows even like show like I don't know. Like I have only seen a couple seasons of Glee, and that was like a while ago. But I feel like not many shows in general show the dynamic of like you can be in college, but then you do have some friends that are still in high school. I feel like it's kind of like the same thing. Like they'll
Yeah.
visit, but they don't really interact with the younger kids.
Yeah.
And like younger kids, like the high schoolers, you know. And I feel like that's one thing. I don't think it's like a major thing that's like a very pivotal thing, but I feel like if they're going to visit a high school, I feel like that should be like something that's put in there because I feel like that's just more realistic. That or if they're just visiting, you know, but I feel like if it's like a whole group of them visiting, I'm sure some of the people in those group, like, because I know sometimes I'll visit my old high school, one of my old high schools with my friends, but it's not like we only just go for the teachers. We have some friends of our own who are actually still at the high school or about to graduate.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I've actually only been to my high school after graduating one time, and that was my freshman year. I went back because I was a member of the track team, and I had some friends who were still like coming up in the team, so I wanted to go see them compete. But I did not ever go back after that. I just texted them like, "Oh, did you do good? Okay, good." And that was the extent of that. But that is like, is it weird that like we go back even though we graduated?
I feel like it depends how often, because I know some
Some
they're
people
like,
do come back like really often.
yeah, like I honestly like kind of like being a super senior but worse type deal, because like I know in my high school that I graduated from like a small town where like the whole school was probably like 800 kids, at least compared to like the other high school I attended where it was like 3,000. And there will be people who like come in during the day, they'll just walk to the classroom, they'll just say hi to the teacher. And for me, you know, I was a new kid. I'm like, who is that? And they're like, oh yeah, this is like one of the old seniors used to come here. I'm like, when did he graduate? They'd be like, oh, like 2015. I'm like, it's 2019. That shouldn't be the case.
Oh man.
It definitely gives me, oh, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
It definitely gives me a different perspective when like looking back at lots of like shows based in high school where like, you know, just high school students were like dating college students or whatever, you know, college students would just hop by and, you know, it was just like a cool thing for some of those high school students. And now I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
No.
I had a friend who he was, I think when he started dating this girl, he was a sophomore and she was a senior. So she graduated. So he was a junior dating a freshman in college. And it's like, I guess it's not that big of a gap, but I'm like, I don't know. For the people in high school, it's like, oh, like that's dope. For the people in college, it's like, what? Why?
Yeah.
Like, why would you do that?
And I guess it depends, like, if you knew each other before, like, if you were already good friends. Sorry if you can hear cars in the background, but if you were good friends or something, like, I guess that's different to me than like a college student, like, looking for a high school.
Oh, I've never heard of that.
You know?
That's straight up
weird.
That's straight up weird.
That's
Yeah, I guess that's what I mean. Not to pass judgment
that's
on
different.
people, like,
I'm passing judgment on that. That's weird.
Yeah.
Why
I'm
would you do
passing
that?
judgment on that.
Like, unless like this is a student that's been held back for like 3 years and is like 21 at this point, like why would you do that?
Yeah.
Even then, if you're 21, why would you want to be with like a 17-year-old?
Yeah. Well, see, that's the issue. Like, why can you not date people your own age? Like, that's the question we need to ask.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of shows.
Do you know anybody who's done that?
I don't.
No, I definitely do.
I'm not really friends with people, but I know of people, and I'm just like, good luck to you. And it's like people in that case of like they didn't know each other beforehand either. So
okay, that's
I know people who are like in relationships and like had got buns in the oven kind of thing, like high school, college, like that. That's pretty standard in my hometown.
Oh man. Interesting. That is like so weird like I'm not this is a little personal thing about me, but I've never really like dated anybody. Like all the people in my high school were like all the good ones were taken. Basically the girls were like, oh, he's available, let me jump on that, because everybody else out here not looking so hot. So when I came to college, not once did I ever have the hot thought of, oh, that one guy in high school. Like I'm like, no, I've got new horizons. I'm moving on. Let's move on to the men. Let's forget those boys over there. Let's go on to the men. So thinking of like, I don't know, I guess for like a girl, a college guy dating a high school girl, I could kind of see it more, I guess. I don't know. But for a college girl to date a high school guy, I'm like, why?
Yeah. That just reminds me of like the movie After. I watched a commentary on it, and like that was the case for the main character. And I'm like, I mean, there's other stuff obviously that affected that, but just for her to enter college with like her high school boyfriend, and also for him to be that immature, I'm like, why stay with him? You might as well just break up with him before you came into this movie, girl. Maybe the movie would have been a little bit better if you did that.
Ooh. Like, I mean, like if you're in love, you're in love. That's fine.
Shade around.
Yeah, but she was like, she didn't even seem that interested in her own boyfriend. It was just like, that's a red flag. And then that movie is something else. It is a college movie though.
We should talk about that movie because that's the perfect one to talk about.
Oh God, I don't even know where to begin with that. Because I mean, I just know I unfortunately have read After when it first came out, because one of my friends was very big into One Direction fanfics, and she sent it to me, and I read it. I would read it with her. And so when I found out this was when it became a published book, that's when I was like, all right, I'm going to pretend I don't know what this is.
Oh wait, so you have to break this down for me real quick. After is like kind of a One Direction fanfic?
Yeah, it's based on Harry Styles.
Well. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a Harry Styles fanfiction.
See, they say that freaking 50 Shades of Grey was supposed to be a Twilight fan fiction. That kind of just, I don't know where they got Twilight from, everything that happened, but
the quality of both shows why fan fiction should not be made. I don't want to generalize, but but I'm generalizing here.
See, I kind of disagree on 50 Shades because I when you take out the naughty stuff, I thought it was a good book. I read all three. I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed it. The third part, they really get into some like deep stuff. I'm like, oh, like this is like I've turned at every page. I just can't wait to see what's next. But
After, I don't think After would really even compare to 50 Shades, just because it's like it's a whole like I think it's also more obvious it's a fan fiction because honestly, like the main character, British accent, looks a little bit like Harry Styles. His name starts with an H. Harry Styles' name starts with an H. A lot of the characters have that play on like the first like name of someone in One Direction type deal. And so when I noticed that, I'm like, I'm gonna be like cliche spotting in this movie, essentially. It's just like, I don't know. It's an interesting one because a lot of the premise of the movie is like her pursuing this dude, but like the dude's basically pursuing her on a bet that she wasn't aware of. But then during this whole time too, she's with that high school boyfriend, and there's two movies of this, by the way, too. But I'm just talking about the first one because I just watched a commentary for the second one. I haven't watched the second one, and in the second one, it's weird because like he like randomly forgives her, even though in the first one she's basically cheating on him the entire time. And the way he finds out is that like he's literally staying over at the college with her, and she leaves him in the middle of the night to go hang out with this Harden dude who's like Harry Styles. And she comes back in the morning and he's like, yo, I've been locked out of the building. Where are you? And then the Harry Styles dude comes out and he's like, you've been cheating on me. And she's suddenly playing the victim. And I'm like, and it's so weird because like it's a weird thing because obviously that's a bad situation, but there are people like that I've seen in college who would put themselves in the victim spots despite doing something bad in like a relationship motive.
I definitely think her character is kind of shows a lot of like what I think, at least for a lot of like young women, when like before you know what like a healthy relationship is, it kind of shows lots of like tropes that like realistically, like looking back, like this is not part of a good relationship. But you know, it's interesting to see that lots of them are like about inappropriate, like aggressive male behavior to try and elicit the woman's like response. And like this is what's written in like a fan fiction that people are supposed to like desire, and like people are supposed to want to be like the main character. And it's interesting that like at that age, like so many people like write and like read and it like imagine like being in this situation where like Harry Styles is harassing you or being inappropriate. And it's like, why do we as young women, like, why is this suddenly, you know, why do we think this is okay? And like, where did we get this idea? Because I was a fan fiction reader in my youngin days, you know,
in your youth, say it.
Yeah,
in your youngin days.
Yeah, I remember like some stuff that I read that I was like, that like it's not okay, and like all these children are reading all this stuff and then writing about it like after that, you know. And it's like, damn, like, and I wonder if it comes partially from like being so young, but imagining these very like mature situations where I imagine like a lot of young women like don't feel like they would know how to like pursue someone they like or they're interested in. So they create these like situations where, you know, they have no choice in the matter and they're just being pursued until the point the relationship happens, which I understand logically, like how people would get to that point and be like, that sounds good. That's what I want, you know, because I have no responsibility in the situation. But the reality is once you're an adult, like that is just really dangerous, you know, like you can't just have a situation where like you're not showing your interest clearly, you know, because that's just not, it's just not a good idea, you know. You got to learn how to like show your interest. And I kind of went down a rabbit hole about like consent, but like I think it's interesting to like see how we imagine like these like older times in our life when we're that young.
Yeah, especially since a lot of fan fictions, like they are not all written by like people who are 18 and older, especially ones that end up being more erotic. It's usually by people who are like as young as you are reading it, except maybe not as young as I was, because I was like unfortunately like 13, which I mean sometimes that's the case too, which is also like kind of worrisome. It's very worrisome that like, you know, we already have these instilled. And a lot of times too, going off of what Sam was saying, was like sometimes it also mimics things that we see in our life that we think maybe that's a normal thing, and we try to like process it in the way that we write about it or they write about it is like, you know, they try to like make sense of it themselves while writing the stories too, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And like romanticizing these actions, whether or not they're okay.
That's really true. You know, it's like one of those things that you know it in your head, but until you like actually say it out loud and like internalize it, it's not fully realized. So that's crazy. And unfortunately, that is where we're gonna have to end the podcast. We are like about 30 minutes. My dad's like, we gotta go. So unfortunately, I have to leave. But this was a very, very good conversation, and I would love to have both of you back for the next episode if you choose. But yeah, that's gonna be the end of the Genco podcast. I appreciate Sacha, Brandon, and Samantha for being here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the STV channel so you can check out all the other shows, so you can be there and say, I was there when they were making STV videos and now they're winning Oscars and all that stuff.
Shameless plug.
All right. Thank you guys so much. And
Thanks,
hope
guys.
to see you next time. Bye.
All right.
Bye.
See you guys.